Good afternoon, my freedom-loving, free-thinking friends, and welcome to another Decrypting Crypto and Breakout Solution news highlights, Twitter highlights, market update, and adoption highlights stream. My name is Wasim, and I'm an investor. I'm a seeker of truth, and I am a global mentor. And I'm coming to you guys every single week, twice a week, giving you guys the latest news in the cryptoverse and Bitcoin and what's happening globally with our money and what's happening globally with geopolitics that will affect our economy. So without any further ado, let's get into today's live stream with a lot of news happening around the Bitcoin ETF. We've been speaking about the Bitcoin ETF for a little while now. And we've got maybe 6 or 7 ETFs at the moment in application with the SEC. And we've also had Grayscale win against the SEC in court for blocking their previous Bitcoin ETF. We're going to break all that down, see what's happening there, why Bitcoin has dumped over the past couple of days, or actually, I think it's dumped over the past 24 hours, even though it pumped a couple of days ago. We're going to talk about all of that and much, much more. But before I get started, guys, I will remind you once again, we are holding our Future of Money event, and at the bottom of this screen, you can see scrolling the link to it. So breakoutnow.co/FOM-YT. Okay, please click on that link, or actually put in that link into your browser. Register for the Future of Money that's happening on the 13th of September, where we're going to be going through everything that's happened with our money, where it is right now, what the future looks like, and how we can actually ensure that we're doing the right thing to protect ourselves, our family, our sovereignty, and future generations. We would love to see you guys there. We are always updating the information, so every single one that we do has new information in it. So even if you've been in the past, you want to come again, because we are working on making these better and better all the time and keeping you guys updated with what's happening. So with all that being said, let's get straight into the news and look at what's happening over in the US when it comes to Bitcoin, the Grayscale Trust. So Vivek Ramaswamy, I think that's how you say his last name, says Grayscale Win clears the path for Bitcoin innovation in America. So Republican president candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is bullish on Bitcoin, especially after Grayscale's decisive court victory over SEC on Tuesday. He goes, always stay skeptic. The conservative entrepreneur claims the shadow government in Washington is out of control, with federal courts being the last bastion against the unlawful rogue behavior of three-letter government agencies. In Grayscale's case, the court delivered. The decision is strong and a clear path to keep Bitcoin and blockchain innovation in the US instead of overseas. Ramaswamy posted on Twitter on Tuesday, but this should never reach the course in the first place. And he keeps on talking about what's happening with Grayscale and also what's happening with the SEC and their crackdown on crypto. And he's saying that this is pretty much a very good move forward, but he's not the only US politician that's singing praises to Bitcoin right now. So many Democrats and Republicans are talking very, very highly of Bitcoin and what they would do with Bitcoin. We've seen RFK, we've seen this guy, we've seen many others, DeSantis, all these other people talking about what they're going to do when Bitcoin comes. It's a big hot topic in an upcoming election in America. Now, after the SEC won after Grayscale won against the SEC, everyone was excited. They thought, okay, now SEC is going to start moving forward with the ETFs. However, the SEC, being the SEC, did what the SEC does, which is the latest decision on 6 spot Bitcoin ETF applications. So we were expecting to have an answer from the SEC on the 1st of September, being today or tomorrow in the US, on the 2nd of September, and then on the 4th of September. However, this has not materialized. They've turned around and they've actually said that they are going to delay their decision. Sorry, I ran out of words there. So they turned around and said they're going to delay their decision for up to probably up to October. So it could be up to 2 months before we get an actual answer around the Bitcoin ETFs. However, a lot of people are expecting a Bitcoin ETF to come into play right now. There's just way too many things happening in the market for the SEC to be able to get away with saying no. We've got the SEC have lost 2 cases recently. I want to show you guys another case where courts have blatantly said that Ethereum and Bitcoin are commodities. So a lot of things are going against the SEC right now, and they're going to try and do what they can to prolong the answers and decisions that they need to make. Last but not least, in the news highlights, we have India ditches the US dollar in a historical oil deal with UAE. So as you guys know, in the last couple of weeks, we had the UAE, we had UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Ethiopia, Argentina. What was the last one? Oh, Iran. Iran, that's right. Iran is the sixth one. Where those 6 countries actually joining the BRICS, as I mentioned to you guys last week. Now, the joining of them joining the BRICS is not actually official up until the 1st of January 2024. However, this move forward is actually showing the commitment of the BRICS nations working together and de-dollarizing the world. So one of the big objectives of BRICS, and they stated this very, very plainly, very, very openly, is they want to de-dollarize the world. They want to reduce the world's reliance on the greenback. They want to reduce the world's reliance on the US dollar, because the US dollar has been used as a weapon and has been weaponized by Western countries against Eastern and the global South. So because of this, we're starting to see now that these countries will start dealing with each other with their own currency. And now we see the first deal happen with the UAE and BRICS and India signing off on their first deal to trade 1 million barrels of oil in rupees for the UAE, from the UAE, making this a significant move forward toward de-dollarization. So India and the UAE agree on a landmark oil deal settled in rupees. And this is huge news, because it's the first oil deal that I know of. But there was a gas deal that was done a few months back that was paid for using the yuan. So now these guys are using the ruble. So now we're starting to see this could be a trend that's starting to happen around the world. Saudi Arabia, as you guys know, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Russia, these countries are amongst the largest producers of oil in the world, and they've got so much oil. And now that they're starting to do it to settle outside the US dollar, this is going to have a negative effect on the US dollar long term. Let's have a look at what's happening in the market. And it's not looking good right now, guys. I've got to be honest with you. So over the past week, we've seen a sea of red. We've had a few like Hex, Ton, Maker, Bitcoin Cash. I have no idea why anyone buys Bitcoin Cash. It's the worst token you can ever buy. Stay the hell away from it. DYDX, Monero, and a few others there's been a few that have gone up, but we've also seen quite a lot that have gone down over the past week. Bitcoin is still struggling. It is down about 4.5% over the past 24 hours. Still has a pretty high dominance of 47.6%. However, it's down to 26,000 when it was close to 29,000, 30,000 only a few weeks ago. So I hope you're all buying the dip right now. You're trying to stack as much SaaS as possible, because these opportunities don't come all the time. We want to be able to buy them as cheap as possible, so that when things do change, we can when Bitcoin goes back up and the bull market is in full play, we can start taking profit. Last but not least, looking at the greed and fear, the fear and greed index, it has not been well for. It's not a good sentiment out there in the market right now. We're starting to see we're still in the fear of the on the spectrum. We were in neutral and we were probably in greed maybe about a month or so ago. So the market is obviously the market is quite fearful at the moment with everything that's happening, and this is why we're seeing that. But as Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful and be fearful when others are greedy. So this, to me, tells me that this is a good time to be buying. Next up, we have Bill Hughes, and he goes, the SDNY also explicitly, so this is the court order, found that in August 29 decision in Risey versus Uniswap that Ethereum is a commodity, not a security. Now, no analysis of the issue, just the conclusion, but still pretty definitive statement if you ask me. While no court has yet decided the issue in the context of decentralized protocol smart contracts, the court finds that the smart contracts were themselves able to be carried out lawfully, as with exchange of crypto commodities, Ethereum and Bitcoin. So this is a court now stating that Ethereum is Bitcoin, and this is pretty big. Ethereum is a commodity, and Bitcoin is a commodity, which is pretty big news, which is what most of us want to hear in the cryptoverse. Next up, we've got the Wolf of Wall Street. Oh, we've moved over to Twitter highlights. I'm going to update that. Next up, we've got Wolf of Wall Street, and he goes, here's an uncomfortable question. Who knew in advance that the ETFs would be delayed and was able to sell off Bitcoin? Sell the news is one thing. Sell before the news is fishy. So basically, we saw the Bitcoin price dump just before the SEC announced they're going to be delaying the ETF. And this is now causing questions like who's doing this? Who's making money by doing this? So that's a good question to be asking and a good question to be thinking about. Next up, we have Psilocybin Citadel Pleb Army, where they say, I didn't truly understand Bitcoin until I understood fiat. Nobody likes to admit they've been fooled their entire life. I think that's really the hurdle for most people. What he's talking about here is that most people don't understand Bitcoin until they understand how corrupt, how valuable, how manipulated the Ponzi scheme of the fiat system is. When you start to understand that it gets printed with no end in sight, and printed for no reason other than to line the pockets of those at the top, you start to understand why Bitcoin is important because of its scarcity, decentralization, etc., etc. And what this person is saying is, until you understand that problem, you're not going to understand Bitcoin. And I think a lot of people still have not had that rude awakening of how bad the fiat system is. Most people that have had the awakening, like myself, have been through quite a traumatic experience to understand how disgusting this system is and why it's not created for our benefit, and it's created for the benefit of those at the top. And if you watch my video today that I did when I spoke about the comparison. I compared the feudal system with today's system, and I showed how many similarities there are and why we are being farmed for our productivity. Last but not least, guys, let's go at the adoption highlights. And we've got some great news here today. Let me see what comments we have. I can't see any comments. All right, let's see for adoption. So Google Cloud to digitize El Salvador's governance, healthcare, and education. So this is pretty big news for El Salvador. El Salvador has been kicking goal after goal after goal over the past 2 years or so. Actually, it's almost 2 years. In September, I think it was late September 2021 when El Salvador announced that Bitcoin is going to be legal tender. So now, 2 years later, El Salvador keeps pushing boundaries and showing the world that it will not be stopped and that Bitcoin was the right decision. And now they're doing a deal with Google to bring in cloud services across the country. Now, why is this big news? It's big news because it allows the country to update its infrastructure. I'm not a big fan of cloud. I use cloud, but I use it because we have to, but I don't like the fact that my data is on somebody else's server. So it's not something I'm in favor of, but it's something, it's a necessity I need to do because hard drives crash, right? But this is good news for El Salvador because now they can upgrade all their payment systems, invoicing, etc. Is going to move the country further and further along the development stage because they need infrastructure to develop. It'll be a 7-year deal that will be done between Google and the Salvadorian government, where Google will help digitize a lot of the governance processes. Next up, we have Binance. So last week we spoke about Binance and the Binance MasterCard. And what we said was that Binance and MasterCard has severed ways, and they're no longer working together, and that the Binance MasterCard will become unavailable soon. But now Binance has launched Send Cash in Latin America. So in 9 countries, they are now. You can send from the Binance to a bank account directly, and it's called the Send Cash in Latin America. It will first start, I think it was like Argentina and I can't remember what country it was, but it'll start in 2 countries and then move on to being available in 9 other countries, which is proof of Binance's commitment to propagating this industry. Last but not least, guys, we have Elon Musk. X moves closer to crypto payment with new state license. So Elon Musk has spoken about turning X, the Twitter app, to be an everything app, which I'm not a fan of, to be honest. We don't want an everything app. More centralization is not what we need. We need decentralization. However, these guys will do what they want to do. And he has now received a currency transmitter license, which means they can hold, store, and transfer currency on behalf of their clients. And rumor has it that Elon is actually telling his developers to build this infrastructure so that it can accept crypto payments in the future. So it's pretty big news. As you guys know, Elon Musk is a fan of crypto. He's bought some Bitcoin, and him and his companies hold Bitcoin. He's a big fan of Doge and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Bitcoin and crypto and Twitter in the future. That's it for me, guys. One last time, please make sure you are joining us at the Future of Money on the 13th of September. The link is rolling across the bottom of the screen, breakoutnow.co/FOM-YT. We would love to see you there. Totally new content coming your way, and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday. Until then, peace out and stay crypto. Bye.